Chinese takeout.
We are allowed to talk. Welcome to our city council meeting. Thank you for joining us. For the record, it is Valentine's Day, Tuesday, February 14th. It's 2 minutes after 3. We'll start with roll call attendance. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Here. Councilmember Mylum.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Borton.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Mayor DeVeerd.
Here.
I'm here too.
Ready to go.
Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. If all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
on the agenda, we have item number 9. The executive sessions need to be amended to include 74-206-1A and 74-206-1D. And with that, I move we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 4 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve the consent agenda as published and for the mayor to sign, the clerk to attest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes. There were no items moved from the consent agenda, so item 6A is a community presentation by the Ada Soil and Water Conservation District. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to pass these out.
Thank you.
And I'll start with my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Josie Erskine. I'm the manager of the Ada Soil and Water Conservation District. We haven't reached out to cities very well in the past and let you know that we're here to partner with you and who we are and what we do and ways that we can become partners together. I represent a board of directors that are locally elected officials. Their names don't show up on the ballot unless they're contested, but we are a state agency. So, you know, the Soil and Water Conservation District of Ada County started during kind of the Dust Bowl is when the Soil and Water Conservation District started. And we work a lot with farmers, ranchers, landowners, but now that we are kind of an urban ag interface, we find ourselves now branching out to new partners. Stormwater is something that we're interested in looking at. Community gardens is something that we're also starting to look at and be interested in. One of the big things that we do is we rent out a no-till drill. And really why we do that is for water quality. So this is a piece of equipment that makes it so that you don't have to till before you can plant. You can plant straight into the residue. And we've been tracking this, and you can see that in the years that we have it in the display, that we think that we have estimated over 112 semi-loads of sediment from entering our waterways through this technology. We are making documentaries where we follow farmers right now in the Treasure Valley that use that and show that sediment reduction just through this simple piece of equipment. Also, this piece of equipment eliminates tillage. So that saves the farmer money. So we're seeing that a farmer saves around $163 per acre just by using this piece of equipment, and that is in fuel labor costs on the field. This is a win-win. Farmers are making money, we're reducing our sediment into our water. This is a way that we can start partnering with cities when we look at ag land of how can we start doing some of those water trading credits. This is a great water trading credit that farmers can use as this no-till drill. We rent it out, the district does. We are really interested in creating a learning farm. The city of Boise brought forward a piece of property to us last year, the Meridian farm, and then took it away. And I was at the Growing Together meeting last with your mayor, and it was presented that there is a space that Meridian's looking at around the natural gas facility that would like to stay in ag land. The Ada County Soil and Water Conservation District would like to create a learning farm. We already have partners and we have funding for this. NRCS, U of I, we would like to create demonstration gardens, also demonstration of conservation, also a rangeland ecosystem where we show what that ecosystem looks like. So we're really looking to see, is there a city that would like to partner with us and bring forward a project like this. We're looking for around 50 acres to make this happen, is something that we would really like to bring forward. I think I skipped. I didn't. It's not in here. Another project that we do is we do a 5th grade field day. And we haven't had Meridian participate in this yet, but we had around 1,500 5th graders last year participate in our 5th grade field days. They go through different conservation stations with us. We now have CUNA and Boise, but we would really like to see Meridian school children see this conservation field day with us, with all of our different partners. They learn about where their food comes from. They learn about clean water with DEQ, wildlife with Fish and Game. We have about 20 partners that go through this 5th grade field day, and we would love to work with the city of Meridian, find a place where we can make that happen. In Boise, we use the Boise Urban Garden School, and we would love to partner with you for that. You know, the last thing that we really want to talk to you about is ag land preservation. So the Ada County Soil and Water Conservation District is part of a statewide entity, which is the Idaho Soil and Water Conservation District. And we're looking to bring forward legislation next year that will create ag land preservation legislation that will be held in the state of Idaho. The idea is that farmers could put land into conservation easements. So working with cities like Meridian to figure out where those corridors are that they would like to protect and how we can start protecting them as a county. Does anybody have any questions for me? We just had a few short minutes.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Palmer.
Ma'am, I was wondering if you could, I was reading out here on the back of your flyer, and help me understand more about a conservation easement, what exactly that means and what it does.
How that works. So in essence, say I have 100 acres. I'm a farmer, I have 100 acres. I would put a conservation easement on that. There are federal funds that we don't have access to in Idaho because we don't have matching funds. In a sense, what that would remove is my development rights. My development rights would be bought from me. They wouldn't apply somewhere else, but a conservation easement would be put on that piece of land and it would go into ag. So its future sales would be as ag land. So my family could keep selling it, but only as ag. It wouldn't ever go back that there was a potential for development. So it's a voluntary program. The farmer makes that decision, or the farmer's family makes that decision to keep it into ag, and then they see a financial benefit from that so that they can make that decision. So their retirement isn't hinged upon the sale of that land to a developer. Areas across the country that have done it really strategically. We'll take Delaware, for example. They have a fund. Farmers go through a ranking system. Rank out from wetlands to water to a proximity to sprawl, all of these different ranking systems. And then they put a price on what that looks like, and then farmers around the entire state bid for it. Delaware is about the size of the Treasure Valley. In 10 years, they have saved over 50% of their agricultural land through this kind of voluntary conservation program. They also now had to incite a young farmer kind of hookup system in their state. So they're attracting new young farmers to their state through this program. Last I heard, they had a 125-person waiting list to acquire land, because then that land can go through the state, which we already do have state-funded ag loans at low rates. So that land can go through those ag loans, attract young farmers to that area. And they're also seeing that ag companies are more interested in coming to those states because they know their raw product is protected. They know that ag product is going to be there because that land's going to be there. They can see the state taking measures. So Delaware is seeing a huge boost in their ag economy through that. Does that answer that question?
Sure does, thank you.
Okay.
Are there questions from council? Were you familiar with our Meridian Youth Farmers Market?
No.
Okay, well, we need to make sure you are.
We would love to know more
Last
about
year, we kicked off the Youth Farmers Market in our City Hall Plaza on Wednesdays on Saturdays, weekly on Saturdays. Starting, usually kicks off around Dairy Days and goes through September. And it's 75% of the vendors are youth, and they have to grow or make their own product. And so we would love to get more involvement within the ag community and in getting our youth exposed to growing their own products, starting their own business, learning life skills that I think will benefit them certainly throughout their adulthood. So our Parks Department is taking note. I see our director over there nodding his head as well. So we'll reach out to you because we're certainly, they don't have to be a Meridian resident. And we're also looking for that family-oriented ag business that can be the staple, because our kids don't have to be there every week. They can choose one time only, or every week, or once a month. It really varies, but we would love to get your engagement on that too.
And I think Jessica Harold, who is our programs manager, that sounds right up her alley. And I'd like to say I do have two more board members here. Our chair, President Glenn Edwards and Kent Foster have joined me today to help back me up. I get a little nervous speaking in front of people.
I think you do really well.
Good, thank you.
So thank you for being here and sharing what you're about. Certainly, we have also a very successful community garden in Kleiner Park that we have a co-op that's very engaged with and works very closely with our parks team as well. So would love to see if there's some cross-pollination, and we appreciate your involvement and your interest in coming and talking with us today.
Yes, and we would love to work with the City of Meridian. If there's a project that you're looking for funding that has to do with water quality or ag, and you're looking for partners to help find funding, that is exactly what we would like to work with you on. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind that, you know, you can reach out to us and we would love to partner with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We
Madam Mayor?
appreciate that. Yes, Ms. Milam.
Sorry, have you reached out to the West Ada School District? So you said you were looking for the fifth graders to participate in your field day, and
We need you, we would need you to speak into the record there.
My name is Jessica Harold. Yes, we actually did, I think, have maybe 2 schools last year, but it was very small involvement. But this year, there will be probably a whole field day that's just Meridian students, so about 200 students this year.
good, thank you.
Well, and as you look at programming, Jessica, I know that there is a greenhouse facility out by one of our alternative schools, Meridian Academy, and at one point, they were utilizing it, but I think it became a little bit too much of a bite to chew, and always looking for partners in that, so, and that is through the West Ada School District, but that's a Meridian Academy High School, and always looking for people that will mentor and help share their passion for agriculture, for the growing of our foods and those kind of things, so keep that in mind as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate yours. Okay, item 7, under department reports, I see Mr. Neri is making his way forward. You each have your PowerPoint presentation in front of you as well.
Okay, so I'm going to be like everybody else. How do I advance this slide? Okay, perfect. All right. Madam
Didn't we
Mayor-
make you practice that?
Sorry, I didn't practice ahead of time. So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, I know you look all forward all year to our update. I know it's scintillating stuff. I know it's very exciting. I know today it kind of feels like we're a warm-up back for Public Works, but that's okay. I'm always proud to bring you an update on what we've been doing and what types of activities we've been engaged in. We are small but mighty.
And there is your backup team.
We're a small but mighty team. We've been together now for 12 years for some of us, and Andrea is our newest member of our team, has been here almost 10 years. So we have a lot of depth and a lot of time invested in our city because we care. We really do want to make sure things work and work out correctly, and we try to do everything we can to make that happen. Okay, I'm going to try this. There we go. Words to the wise. I like to make sure there's a few things in there that you can take away. Okay, our mission statement. Again, I'm not going to read it to you, but our mission is to make sure that we are doing everything legal, we're doing everything safe, and we're doing everything consistently across the board. We're providing assistance to the community by the city doing things right, and we do think it's important that we provide you the best legal advice and both leadership and counsel to both you and as well as the employees of the city. We take our job very seriously. We have a lot of fun too, but we take our job very seriously and want to make sure we're doing things to the best of our ability for the citizens of our city. Ongoing tasks. I know everybody is so excited about how many development agreements we wrote or how many resolutions we brought, so I want to make sure you knew how many there are in the course of a year. And as most of you know, because many of you have been here a while, you know that there's a lot more than that to that number than just a number. You know, there's a lot of time and effort, there's a lot of discussion with departments, there's a lot of work that gets involved. One agreement might take weeks or months to work through, and others might take minutes to work through. It just depends on the particular project, but we take them all very seriously. And I didn't highlight the first bullet, but I've mentioned it to you many times before. You know, that prep time is so critical to making this meeting work well for all of you. And when this meeting works well for all of you, then it works well for everybody out in our community. So that prep time with departments, with the individuals, with the different projects, with all of those, that time and effort, you know, I've said it many times, we work really hard to make it look really easy. And the time we spend, we feel is very valuable, and we feel very much embedded in what goes on a daily basis in the city. But I was talking to the mayor yesterday in a meeting, I said, sometimes it's hard to put that in a slide of, we spent a lot of time making this work, and you didn't even see it. I mean, most of the things you see on your consent agenda are things that may have taken a great deal of time, and you looked at it over the weekend, and you passed it in 5 minutes. And it's good for you to know, as well as the public, there's a lot of time and effort that went into that, and we are integrally involved in virtually all of that. We do, again, think it's really important to make sure that the city is compliant, but also not because the legal law requires it, but because we as a city need to set that example, and we feel that's a critical part of what we do. Again, we staff all of your council meetings and commission meetings, so again, there's a lot of commissions that really are reliant on our input and our participation in what they do and how they do things. Again, your citizen volunteer commissioners many times don't know what they can or can't do, and so between the staff that might be supporting the meeting as well as the attorneys that support the meeting, it really helps them, again, accomplish what they're set out to do, whether it's arts or transportation or parks or HPC. Again, some of the things we wanted to highlight that we did. So we did do an expansion of the well lot off of Franklin Road last year. Took a little bit of time and effort in doing that. Again, we had some different agreements. Probably the bigger ones, again, the most visible ones are the public art. You know, again, they're all very complicated. They're all unique and individual, whether it's a donation agreement for a park or whether it's art, whether it's an art box or an art piece. But, you know, those are the ones that people get to see. So I want to make sure to at least highlight that for the public as well as all of you. But those are just, again, those are part of that other number that we had before and the different things that we work on a daily basis. And again, some go very quickly and some take a little bit longer. This is the biggest thing we bought, I think, since I've been here of a thing. I mean, we bought ground that was bigger, but the biggest, most expensive thing I think we bought is this home court. And there was a lot of joint effort. You know, we, and all of you probably know, but most of you know, everything we do in our office is very collaborative. None of us know everything, but collectively I think we do a pretty good job in figuring it out and working together and bouncing off ideas. And this was really a team effort by all of our department because, again, this wasn't just us. I mean, this is parks as well. This is the mayor's office. I mean, there was a lot of other moving parts to this, but there was a lot of effort by all 5 of us to make this acquisition and this agreement and all of the different things that have gone into both this as well as the Y project really come together. And any of you have ever stopped by our office, you know, we have a round table that's kind of in the center of our workspace, and virtually any time of the day you can come there and we're talking about something that's going on and some question or issue or problem and trying to figure it out. And whether it's 1 or 2 of us or all 5 of us there, we are always trying to figure out the best we can. We all have different levels of experience and different levels of expertise, and we use that. And this was really a culmination of that effort as a team and getting this project done, this land purchased and this property purchased, and getting this transition to the city. And I think Steve's in the room, and I think the Parks Department agree. I think we've worked very collaboratively on this project, and we continue to, and we will continue to, as you'll see in a later slide. But we're all pretty proud of this particular one because it was a very big thing and a great thing for our city and our citizens, and we're very proud of it getting accomplished. It is tough to make a living out there, so I want you to know some people out there are really working at it. So there's a lot of other ways to find lawyers out there in the world. And I don't know that 99% of the lawyers give the rest a bad name, but. So again, various agreements. Again, lawyers' lifeblood is writing contracts, reading contracts, reviewing contracts, rewriting them in all different levels of agreements. And these are kind of some of the highlights, again, of things that we worked on that we're really proud of and really happy that we got to be a part of. The parklets downtown, the Idaho Avenue placemaking project is a real unique thing for our downtown. And we were glad to be a part of that and help make that happen. We didn't put the paint on the street, but we got them to be able to put the paint on the street. So that was our role in getting that license agreement facilitated with ACHD. We have a lot of special events. I only highlighted one, but we have a number of special events that come through the clerk's office. We have a member or 2 of our staff, our team, that goes to all of those meetings and helping get that set up and making sure whatever's needed, whether it's things related to safety, things related to liability, things that are related to protecting the public for that safe event. And this happens to just be the one that is by far probably the largest event, and they said it's the largest in the country, although they don't really have a way to verify that, but that's how Capital Christian portrays it. We're in agreement, if that's what they think, it's okay by us. But that's just one of the many types of temporary use permits and special events activities that we're involved in to make sure, again, they come off without a hitch and the public isn't impacted in a negative way, and that people understand Again, we have rules for a reason, and a lot of these are simply things that are dealing with safety and the public's public's welfare. The monument sign agreements, again, we really like those. I think they're a nice addition to our community, and they're kind of neat when you can see them. And again, it's another thing that we've helped through the mayor's office in planning to make those things happen. Again, code is another thing that's kind of our lifeblood. You know, we write different parts of the city code and bring those to you. This last year, there was a couple that were really important from the clerk's office standpoint. Both the dog licensing, it was a way to make it simpler and a little bit more streamlined and easier for the public. Having just relicensed my dog, it seemed pretty easy, so I think it worked. So the fingerprinting one is another one that has to go through a very elongated process with the federal authorities to make that work, and so we worked through that issue as well to make sure we continue to do that both for our background checks for employment as well as our background checks for licensing. Again, we had a Department of Justice agreement on our ADA compliance with our plaza and in our parks, as well as a couple of others. The joint powers agreement with fire, I think, was something very unique. I think the chief was one that really spearheaded that, but we helped work through some of the issues with it to make that a real successful. We just did the first academy, graduated in December of last year, and I think it was successful. I think it's exactly what we wanted it to be, was something that we could work together and again get the most value with all these different departments and training and everything else, and so we were happy to be a part of that. Union negotiations, again, we've had an agreement that came through. We got done in October of last year, and we're happy with that, and we don't have to talk about that for another couple of years, and I'm okay with that too. But I think it's still a good process. I think there's some things in the process that we could help make better, and each time we learn things that we could help for the next time, and I think we've been, again, an integral part of making that successful. Different types of programs that we do out the city, and the hand-to-hand recycling, I really have to give kudos to Andrea Pogue from our team, because she's part of our solid waste commission. She's integral in making those things happen for them, and that again helps our community. And this hand-in-hand recycling program was very much her initiative and desire to get this done, to make this happen, and it is a great idea and a great program for our community. And again, it brings that recycling message back to our citizens, that there is value in recycling and that there is something to be gained from that. And then, of course, as you all know, the city gets value back from that. If we can make that a successful program, we get funds to help us do some things in the city that are exciting, things in our parks and things for the community. So that's a great program, and Andrea, kudos to her for helping really spearhead that. Again, a lot of these other things, you know, for the general public, some of these things probably don't seem very interesting or significant, but yet, as you know, since you have to hear all of these things, whether it's the Urban Renewal District or even the TEFRA hearing, as small as it is, it's very critical to our community partner in the Ambrose School. So making sure all those things happen timely as necessary and needed so that things can occur, we again are glad that we can be a part of that success. Snowmageddon, everybody likes using that one. I was going to use something else, but it seems like that's what become the name of the game for that recent one. That was something we have talked about a number of times, both in front of you as well as internally. This was certainly unprecedented for us as a city, us as a department. We have talked in the past about the what ifs and done some tabletops and done some training on doing disaster declarations and what does that look like. And one thing they don't tell you in the training is that when you need it, it's not like it's going to be 3 days from now. We need it in 45 minutes. And so no matter how much training you had, you probably didn't have it yesterday. So you have to make sure you understand what you're doing very, very quickly. And again, I think it shows the power of team that we have, that this was Friday, if my recollection is right. I think it was a Thursday or Friday. And it was a very quick, again, we're dealing with the weather, things were happening, they're happening right now, we have to make decisions on what we're going to do, and we as a team pulled together and was able to put this together in a very short time to again make the rest of the operation work and making sure that things can be done legally and can be done in a way that's the least impact to us or least impact to the public, because nothing is worse than doing it over. You know, if you always want to do it right the first time, because doing it over usually costs more money and takes more time. So this was one that was really an interesting process. Again, there are a lot of lessons learned internally in all the departments that were involved. This was a real interesting one, and fortunately, I think was, again, more positive than negatives. I put sidewalks at the end because I know there's still that question that the public has about sidewalks out there. I don't know when and how that's going to get resolved. I don't know that we're really going to be the driver of that anyway. I think someone else might be driving that question, and we may just be the recipient of what that result is.
But why take all the fun away from Emily?
Exactly, exactly.
It's funny.
Again, it's really tough to make a living out there. There's lots of these out there if you want to find them. Some of these are local. I'm sure you've heard of a couple of these people, so.
He was there.
Right there.
Oh. Wow.
I didn't put those. I put the questionable types of advertising out there. Risk management. This is another piece. Again, most of these things don't come before you very much. These are things that happen out there. It was good. Again, part of the snow apocalypse situation was really helping, again, educate the departments, because some of the departments that are involved in risk management issues or claims management that we have are things that occur at least frequently enough they understand how to file a claim, how to tell the public how to file a claim if they think there's something going on. But the snow event really expanded that audience greater than what we usually have had. Now we have people that never have an issue with the city, and suddenly they have potholes on the street and they think that's our responsibility, or somebody mowed their mailbox down because of the snow, or whatever it may be. Or we had buildings that had damage related to the snow. So it was a good educational opportunity to the departments for us to say, here's the forms, here's how you do it, here's what you need to do, and here's how to educate the public. When you come into contact with somebody who has a concern and a claim of some sort that they think the city is involved with, here's how to get them the information so that we can work on it and try to do it quickly. Again, through that snow event, there was a lot of people that had concerns that were immediate and weren't something that we could await and address 3 weeks from now or 3 months from now. And so there was occasions where we really had to kick it into gear and get the resolution then quickly. If it was a damage to a vehicle and that was their only means of transportation, they're not going to get themselves around in the middle of a snowstorm through any other means. So there was a lot of time and effort by all of our team to help make all of that happen. These are the number of claims we've had this year. You haven't seen many of them because most of them are claims that either get resolved at the claims level or they get denied because they're really not a claim for us, or they're not our responsibility or the city's liability. And so very few ever do come back. When they do, those you'll hear about, and we just haven't had very many. We always watch for trends with departments. We look for those, and we haven't really, our departments do a really good job of both safety training as well as preventative training, whether it's driving, whether it's the police in their self-defense training and their physical training, the fire department, again, with their physical training and driving instructions. We don't have a lot of collisions. We don't have a lot of injuries. We don't have a lot of those types of things that we look for on the risk management side to see if we need to do something to kind of move that number down. We have very low lost work time from injuries. We have very low claims for damages of any significance. Most of them are fairly small. I mean, an example, during the snow event, we had a fire truck that slid on some ice and damaged 2 cars. We took our insurer took care of it. Those cars got repaired. Life moves on. It wasn't as significant. They weren't going very fast because it was snowing, and so the damage was very minor because of that. So our departments are really good at managing their workload and how they do their work, and that helps keep claims down to a minimum. Again, we get a number. I didn't break it out, but we do get a number of claims annually that have nothing to do with us and isn't anything that we did. Sometimes there are other entities that are responsible for them, or nobody's responsible for them. So it's an interesting world on the claims side, but we don't have very many for a city of our size. To say we had 16 against the city in a year and we paid 9, that's pretty small. We would get 16 in a month when I worked at the city of Boise. So this is really not much for a year. So on the horizon, where are we going? We've talked a number of times about the court facilities. That case is not resolved yet. That issue isn't resolved yet. So we're still keeping our eye on it and what's that going to mean for the city, and we're looking at, hopefully some solutions to that, and hopefully we'll get some resolution of that in a positive way. I listed the next bullet as the police and prosecution. You all know we have an annual contract with the city of Boise to provide both of those services, and it's always been my belief that if a court facility was going to be located here in the city, we may have to reevaluate that. Is that the best use of our resources if that's the case? Right now, part of the value of using the city of Boise is they're 3 blocks from the courthouse. If they have to drive out here, then that maybe isn't the best use of time to do that. I also don't know if they would continue to do it if they didn't have a facility downtown to use. So I don't know how that's going to impact it. I just want to make sure that it's always on our radar, that that's a part of the conversation on what impacts to the city will be in relation to that particular issue. Partnership at the Hill, that's not going to be a one and done. I mean, that's definitely something that's going to be an ongoing for a while, at least until the park gets built, and then we'll see what other things derive from that with the Y, with the Western Ada School District. And of course, we have an ongoing relationship with the school district anyway for facility use. And so we know that partnership is going to be ongoing for a long time, and we want to make sure, again, we're in front of that. They've been great entities to work with. We have had no issues or friction or problems with those. They've always been very supportive and very helpful in trying to get to the same conclusion and the same resolution for everybody. Regulatory changes, I kind of made that sort of generic because, again, I don't have a clue. I read the paper just like all of you, and every day I can't tell if changes are going to come that will affect us or not. So there's going to be some changes that we can foresee, and that may or may not affect how we do business or what we do. But I can anticipate that there will be some. I don't anticipate it from a perspective of impacting our legal department team for the next budget year. But as we watch through it, we're either going to be coming forward saying, here's what's changed dramatically, and here's how we need to address it, and how would you like to do that? And I don't think we'll have enough time between now and July or June to really know that, but definitely maybe for FY19, we might. We don't just read books, but we do a lot of the bottom right corner there. Questions?
Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
back to your beginning of this. I was wondering if you wanted us to take a little longer before we approve the consent agenda, just in respect to the time and effort that you guys have all put into it.
No, the intent is to make it quick and easy for you.
All right, just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're good with that.
No, you're
Okay.
perfectly great with that.
Anything further?
All right, thank you.
We appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, thank you for making things seamless,
Thank you.
most of the time. I had to throw that in, so maybe you can consider your own billboard at some point.
I know a spot.
Oh, yeah, we have a spot for it, too.
You had a great team. Great team.
I can tell you've been on vacation. Okay, item 7B is under Public Works, and I will turn this over to Dell. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to address you today with a little bit more of an update. I also want to thank the Public Works staff for allowing me to be their representative in this interim director role. And I will tell you that a lot of the topics that we're going to hit on will slide through. Many of them have been caught in the mayor's state of the city, Warren's update on the engineering projects, yada, yada. So anyway, we'll hit some of those highlights because I think they're worthy of it. But
Did we steal your thunder?
you know, had this happened in November, I'd have been leading the way on the thunder, but it didn't. But you know, before we get started here, I wanted to take a moment and see if there's going to be another shoe fall here, because last time that I visited you in January, I literally was walking up here and got the word from Lorelei that we're approaching a near record flow down to our waste treatment plant. And as we kind of look at that, you know, we on a daily average are somewhere around 7 million gallons of wastewater treated. And during our peak flows, we may approach, you know, that 10 to 12 million gallon per day rate. And at that point, we thought, okay, this is you know, we're starting to climb. We're at somewhere around 15 million gallons, and we can probably manage that as long as it doesn't get any higher. And so as we left our discussion, within about 2 hours, the wastewater treatment plant experienced a flow rate of about 30 million gallons per day rate. And that was unprecedented. And at that point, Lorelei and her team, you know, sent out the all hands on deck, and we, you know, got everybody to collapse around the waste treatment plant in hopes that we could do something to help. And we had no idea what was still coming. By the time we got into the later hours of the evening, we were seeing flow rates that were in excess of 50 million gallons per day rate. At that point, there's just not a whole lot you can do. But I will tell you that within the powers that they had, the wastewater team, we had business operations people out there, we had city engineering staff out there, we had water, we had wastewater, we had everybody collapse around that to do whatever we could to assist in managing that kind of instantaneous flow. And the team came together. We borrowed pumps from ACHD. They had probably the largest pump in the area to help us move that flow through the process. And I'm pleased to say that we actually worked our way through that challenge and still met all of our end-of-pipe criteria for our MPDS permit. So that, I think, speaks for itself, just a tremendous effort by the entire department to collapse around that one particular incident that was unprecedented. And I hope we don't see that again. You may see in the budget cycle a request for a pump, a little larger than what we've got, although we don't anticipate seeing this kind of flow. You know, as that facility builds, we need to be able to have that capability. So great effort on their part for our little bit on Snowmageddon on that day.
And Dale, I think it's important to also note that this isn't the first time you've kind of had that kind of, well, those kind of flows, but we had a summer storm too that tested our staff and their ingenuity and that sort of thing as well, with a massive amount of water. And so,
just for some context, that massive amount of water would have been about this green bar.
oh, wow.
So it was, you know,
It was massive at the time.
This was even bigger, but it is, and you know what, and it'll continue to be massive, and we will see those kinds of events, but they're typically much lower and much less in duration, and there are ways we can handle it, and our staff is very professional at doing that, and so very, very proud of the entire team in coming through that. So what I'd like to do today is kind of walk you through a review kind of on a utility basis. So we'll take a look at the wastewater utility, the water utility, many of the other key initiatives that we have going on, and then finish up with some focus on our employees, which we consider to be the foundation of our organization. So let's start with the wastewater utility. The topic that just doesn't seem to go away, and we're okay with it, is that our MPDS permit, the wait continues. Nampa and Caldwell have had their permits go final. They've been out for a while. And so we see that as kind of a benefit for us here in Meridian, that they are now separated from our schedule, and we believe that's going to give us a unique opportunity as these 5-year permit cycles go, for us getting a view of what's new and what's trending in that whole area. So we're in no hurry. It's okay that things delay. It's offering us much more time to be prepared, but we do think that there is nothing from our end that stands before us in the issuance in that permit. So we're literally now at the mercy of the EPA and the DEQ and getting that permit finalized. One of the reasons why we delayed was that we had a constituent in our new permit associated with bisphthalate. That's a plasticizer component that they wanted to impart limits in our permit. And our savvy MPDS management team, made up of engineering and operations and laboratory folks, recognized that they were trying to impart a constituent on us that physically could not be monitored, measured, or controlled. And the team implemented with EPA a large bisphthalate study to indeed prove just that we could not do that. That was some expense on our part. It was a lot of time spent by the wastewater lab folks and gathering samples and sending them off to various labs. And the result of that was, I think, very good for us, and that is that the EPA removed that constituent from our permit. So between draft permit and final permit, that's now been removed. We've consented to monitoring for it, and that's assuming that we can find laboratory facilities that even have the capability to measure that constituent at the low levels that they were going to impart in our permit. So just an excellent job done by our laboratory and wastewater staff to get that component removed. That was the final hurdle from our perspective, though, in getting the permit. And so now it's just under review, and we're still expecting to see that that permit come here in the next couple of months. We're not wasting time, though, while we wait. We know what's coming in that permit from the draft permits that we've seen. There's an awful lot of activity going on. So we've, as you're aware, we've constructed the facilities and lab and things of that nature. We've hired the staff. We're preparing them and training them and all the necessities to meet our new permit. We're also taking advantage of preparing the legwork for a lot of the plans. So much of the work in the very first 6 months of this new permit is that we have to generate and deliver back operations and maintenance plans, quality assurance plans, facility plans, emergency response plans. Those all have to be developed and submitted early on in that permit cycle. So we're taking advantage of this time right now to go ahead and get a lot of those things prepared so that we'll be in great shape once that permit hits us. One that you've also been pretty familiar with is what we're calling our wastewater treatment capacity expansion phase 1. And you're hearing a lot of different numbers. There's a variety of projects, and really you have 4 initiatives that we consider make up the phase 1 effort of expanding our wastewater treatment plant. The first, which is now complete, is the UV expansion. And that is the final disinfection step in our process before we discharge to our outfalls, which is primarily the 5 Mile Creek. That project in itself is really what saved our bacon in the high flow scenarios where we were able to take what at that point is highly diluted processed water, and we had the capacity to disinfect it, and that allowed us to meet our end of pipe criteria as it relates to those certain criteria. So that was good that project was completed. The second project that's been in progress is Centrate, and that's a process or project to optimize food sources for the bugs, and I guess the best words that we come up with is this: we need to feed the process a steady diet, and that's exactly what this Centrate project does in terms of leveling out and smoothing the food sources across the periods of time that we have variable flow, and that allows us to optimize our project. The one that's probably gets the most attention is the liquid stream project, and that is a entirely new treatment train process that truly gives us that additional capacity. So we're talking about primary and secondary clarifiers, a full set of aeration basins, and that's the project that has just gotten underway. The total initiative is approximately $44 million. The contract for construction was about $35 million that was recently bid and let out, and that is underway. They're out there turning dirt, and that's a big component of our capacity expansion. And the final initiative that'll be going out to bid here shortly is the headworks. So that's the first step in our process where we collect all the feeder lines, we do all the initial pumping and screening and grit removal and flow splitting, and that'll all be done in a new facility that'll have odor control, because it's also the most odorous part of our operation, where you have the influent coming in. So those together all make up that first phase of our capacity expansion. We're looking at about 36 months worth of construction, and we are very excited to see all of those initiatives getting off the ground. Reclaim water, we've kind of beat this one to death. We're not going to talk a lot about it, but per your direction and our recommendation, we're going to continue the program as it is today. So, you know, we roughly have up to 1 million gallons a day that we can deliver up and down 10-mile corridor to the parks and 10-mile interchange and some of our other customers. We are going to be able to expand slightly on our distribution, and we're going to be delivering reclaimed water to the Bolano Park subdivision park project. I think it's the Rita Husky Park, and there may be a few other initiatives. Part of that's made available because we had water watering our back 40, if you will. A lot of that's now under construction being consumed, so we're going to be able to deliver some of that water around. We actually had our highest reclaimed water year ever, so we're at 70 million gallons of water distributed during the irrigation season this year, and we're in the process of working with DEQ to renew our reclaimed water application and permit. And that started here a few months ago, where we had a pre-application meeting. We have to submit all the application requirements by April, and then they'll ultimately issue us a permit that'll go into effect next fall. So, resource recovery. So we're finally getting into some of the topics that took this thing from a WWTP to a WRRF and all that kind of stuff. So those two middle letters, it took a lot of foresight and vision, but we're there. We're on the resource recovery activities associated with our namesake now, and it really covers 4 fronts. New technology. One of the things that we did a pilot test this year on was the removal of phosphorus out of the system, and if you do it in a proper way, you can actually utilize that as a fertilizer type substrate. It's very expensive in order to do that, but it's something that we wanted to look like, so we had a successful pilot that demonstrated we could actually do that. We've also are embarking on a facility plan update, and one of the real purposes of that facility plan is to look out 10 to 20 years and really scour the new technology that's available out there in the waste treatment industry today. So that's under the new technology. Sustainability. One of the unique things that Lorelei and her team are working on is that our disinfection process, so when we look at reclaimed water, we disinfect through the UV process, and then we also disinfect through a secondary chlorination process, and that's required. But if you go through a proper study to demonstrate that your UV disinfection process is effective, we can eliminate the chemical addition and chlorine addition, and that's a very exciting effort that we think is going to be beneficial to the community and to our costs and chemicals and those kinds of things. So
It would have saved a lot of stress earlier, too.
it would have. So that's a good one under our sustainability efforts. The other one is that we currently use in a lot of areas still potable water, and we're using it for cooling of seals and different non-potable water, efforts. And with the project that we have going on, we're going to expand our capability to take and actually reuse more water within the facility, which will save us on potable water use. Cost efficiency, a lot of that is focused on process optimization. So we are constantly trying to find ways to do a better job in managing our process, and that ultimately results in fewer or less chemical use. We're now being much smarter about the way we purchase chemicals. We're looking at consolidating chemical purchasing contracts with other utilities and things so that we can drive our costs down as much as we can. And we're also taking on a lot of efforts that we used to consult out. We have people, we have the skills and ability to do a lot of efforts within our organization, and we're starting to leverage those. And so we're doing a lot more in-house project management and those plan preparations that we talked about. And so instead of paying a consultant, we learn and we can gain value out of doing that ourselves. And so we're doing that on a lot of fronts. And finally, byproduct utilization. We generate things like biogas, and are there other opportunities to use that? And we also generate solids that have to be landfilled and things. So we're going to be placing quite a bit of effort on that whole area of byproduct utilization. We have an emerging issue at the wastewater treatment plant that involves our backup power generation and our power supplier, Idaho Power. We have a very unique relationship in that Idaho Power owns the entire distribution system within our facility, and the centralized backup power generation that we use in case of a power outage, we own, but then we put it onto their distribution facilities to be distributed to the critical pieces of equipment in case of a power outage. That was all spelled out in a 2008 Memorandum of Understanding that we had with Idaho Power, and there's some limitations and some criteria in there. And they've recently approached us about their concerns associated with that agreement, along with the desired expansion that we want to make at the waste treatment plant. So we're in the process of trying to figure out what our options are, and we'll be coming to council here with an update shortly, because we're going to have to make some tough decisions as it relates to our power distribution, our backup power distribution, and how that all fits in with Idaho Power. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that's kind of a emerging issue for us at wastewater. Shifting gears a little bit, let's head over to the water utility and talk a little bit about some of the things they've got going on. Obviously, as the city grows, we have to grow our water supply, and that typically has meant that we've got to go out, we've got to construct new wells. We need to construct them where the growth is occurring, and this just kind of gives you a snapshot of the various wells that we have in progress that are going to be part of our mix. So we currently have 23 wells. With the completion of these, we'll have 27. Kyle indicated to me the other day that this is probably, when these are complete, we'll probably see a little lull in well construction, because we'll be in pretty good shape unless we have some unprecedented growth that we can't plan for. But so these are the wells that are in process. One of the things that we talk about when we stage well construction, from design and test wells and pumping facilities and how it drags out, the whole test well protocol has just been so valuable to us in defining where in that area that we can secure water, the best quality, the right quantity, those kinds of things. And so had to put in a plug for that effort. It's a little bit expensive, but it does allow us to select the absolute best aquifer pull and those supplies from. You know, we also have in our 10-year plan some reservoirs, and we kind of salt those reservoirs in for peak demand, storage, fire flow requirements, those kinds of things. And we have some land for those, and we'll continue to fit those reservoirs in, like the Victory Reservoir, where that makes sense in the overall mix. Water quality improvements is largely, in addition to selecting the absolute best water we can find in the areas we need it, has also taken shape in the form of the treatment facilities. And we now have 3 water quality treatment facilities that are online, and those are all in pressure zone 2. That's the largest of our water demand areas and serves the greatest number of population. And those have been working exceptionally well. We primarily are utilizing them for iron and manganese removal, which is a popular constituent as we go down into the deep aquifers. It's basically a specialized filtration methodology that allows us to remove those, and we're getting 98-99% removal of those constituents in our processes. And the photograph you see there is the kind of tanks that are going in to buildings and pump stations to do that filtration. We've got another one in progress in Zone 3, and we have a couple planned, one each in Zone 4 and 5 that are going to be coming around the corner. So good high-quality water is hard to find, but with this kind of technology, we can leverage the quality that we've got. A couple of areas that have gotten a lot of attention, and I think you're very familiar with. We kind of breezed by, but we thought this year the area of drilling concern efforts by Kyle and his team were very good at protecting our future water sources, and although we petitioned for an area of drilling concern and we did not get that, we got all the commitments that we felt was necessary out of the Department of Water Resources to properly manage and ensure that our aquifers going forward will not be contaminated by the well drilling practices that we see around the valley. So I think that was 99% successful in that effort. The other one that I know you've been hearing about is water rights transfer. It's very important for us to have the ability to move those points of diversion around, give us maximum flexibility so that we can pump the water we need from any combination of the wells that we need, irregardless of the particular water right that might exist at that particular well. So that gives us the flexibility to cherry pick the best sources, the best quality to meet our citizen needs. So kind of move you into some other areas. There's a lot of things, a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of initiatives that we've been working on. We're going to highlight just a couple of those. You're very familiar with the utility billing software, but what you may not be familiar with is that this was an extensive effort by our asset management and water team. Dennis and Kathy led a multi-month effort. I think it probably was 7 or 8 months of work to solidify the back of the house efforts that were associated with that. So, new billing and the customer interface were all excellent results, but we realized a significant benefit on the back of the house, and that's how we process a lot of the work we do out of our water department. So the benefits that we've got listed here is that it delivered us paperless service order and work order processing, which we've been dreaming about, I think, for a long time, but finally came to fruition. It gives us remote data access, so our people out in the field can access everything they need in order to adequately do their work. The new platform is integrated, so that allows us to tie into other kinds of systems like backflow and shut off and turn off kinds of activities. And so it integrates all that. It automates and standardizes a lot of those processes. So I know Dennis and Kathy are experts in work breakdown structures as they went through virtually every process that we were doing within that water department and optimized it to make it work here. So it's efficient, it's accurate, we are offering better timely responses, and we really appreciate the efforts of them to pull this together. So just a plug for that behind-the-scenes thing you don't always hear about. Asset management program, this is one that we've been investing in for some time, and rightfully so. This is the tool that allows us to identify and document all of the key assets and infrastructure within the city. We have about 70,000 assets that are now in our asset program management, and that drives an integrated work order processing system. So last year alone, we processed about 34,000 work orders through this system. Many of them are automatically generated work orders that are predicting what we need to be doing. About 80% of those work orders are now preventative as opposed to reactive in nature, and that's exactly the way you want to go on this thing. So the whole goal, maximize that life cycle, understand what's happening on those assets, and be wiser and be able to plan for replacement, obsolescence in the most cost and value methodology that we can. Financial planning never ends, and we've got a few highlighted here that we've been working on quite diligently. Obviously, the support of the CFP, and I don't know where that stands in terms of your visibility, but I understand if you haven't gotten it, you'll be getting it soon here. But on the CIP side of things, we've always been forced to look out 10 to 15 years. Where do we need to invest that capital? What's it going to look like? The technologies, those kinds of things. But from an operating cost standpoint, this was a first exercise for us, and it was a good one. One of the outcomes on that CFP effort, and one that we I guess passionately called the Growth Summit, was I think for the first time got our public works, our finance, and our development groups all in the room together and say, listen, we need one projection of growth for the next 10 years. Let's give it our best effort, and then we can all use it to plan accordingly. And that was, I think that was an outstanding effort by those three groups to develop that, and you'll see that's what led and drove a lot of the criteria in the CFP. Mentioned the CIP, that's a constant massaging by our engineering and operations group to make sure that we've got projects planned out in front of us. Rate modeling, we'll be bringing you an update on our overall rate structures and assessment fee structures and how we're doing on that relative to some of the changes we've made in the last couple of years. New to me is miscellaneous fees. I honestly did not understand miscellaneous fees very well until just a few months ago. It's about $1 million of revenue that we currently have. That's about 3% of our budget. But it's one that definitely needs some work, and we'll be bringing to you some recommendations very soon to make some modifications on that front. And obviously the budget, we're deep in that process. The team is working and building their budgets. We try to take a zero-base approach as we build those up each year, and so our management team is busily working on that, and you'll get a chance to see that as we work through the process here this spring. I trust we'll bring you an honest and fair effort at a budget for FY18. Just briefly on tactical plan, Public Works actually had a strategic plan done back in 2010 to 15. And with the introduction of the new city strategic plan, we took a little bit different tack and actually created a technical plan. And all of our efforts, a lot of the things that I've talked about already, are things that are deeply part of our tactical plan, and that folds underneath and supports the city's strategic plan. And I think that we're off and running, got a good start on that, and certainly continues to be a major guiding document for the department as we move ahead to support the city's strategic plan. Performance management system, that's a task that is also part of our tactical plan, but it's an initiative that basically is founded on the standpoint that you can't manage what you can't measure. And this is a significant effort. We have identified approximately 17 KPIs within our department that we think can be good measures of our success and our performance. That is supported by about 64 metrics that make up those KPIs. We started data collection on those in Q4 FY16. We're right now going through the process of kind of vetting and validating and rationalizing those KPIs and metrics to see if they still make sense. Sometimes you get into them a little bit and then what maybe was a good idea no longer is, and it doesn't really tell you much. So we're in that process, and we're targeting Q3 of FY17 to have this thing more formalized and reporting and rolling that out to the stakeholders who need that kind of information. Obviously creates visibility, transparency, and ultimately efficiency and effectiveness in our organization. South Meridian, we're on it, we're in it. You're aware of some of the milestones that have been reached here recently, and with the satisfaction of getting the Simplot easement agreement out of the way, we are now working on and they have mobilized and are starting on the critical canal crossings. Time is of the essence, and we've got to get that done. That's kind of the phase 1 of this effort on the sewer side. We'll have the phase 2 and phase 3 commencing this summer as we move forward on the sewer side. On water, there was a stretch of that effort that was actually completed this last year, and we have 2 more phases in the water, 1 each in 18 and 19, which then should complete and deliver that utility services to the parcels identified in the annexation agreements. SCADA and PLC, it might be characterized as the area that's gotten away from us a little bit. This is so critical to our water treatment and wastewater operations. It really has become the brains of our operations. It's the system that automatically monitors and controls many parts of that operation. You guys have supported as a council, almost $5 million worth of investment over the past, 6 or so years. And a lot of that was upgrading of the technology and the PLCs, but it's also delivered us those products that allow us to manage it. So that, components of that system include the HMIs, which are the human machine interface. So that's, that's your screens and your outputs. All of our significant alarming is what is very important to us, so that we can see problems occurring before they happen. And it's our historian. It documents all of the attributes necessary for us to do trending reports. It does report generation, and more importantly, or maybe most importantly, it does give us the backbone information that we have to report and confirm our compliance to our permits and requirements and things. it's growing, it's evolving technology, it's always changing, and as a result, we currently have a task force assigned to get our arms around that. We had a master plan that was developed over 10 years ago to kind of help guide this effort, and it was one of those that was not well-owned. It was shelved, although we followed some parts of it. Many of it's obsolete. So we've asked a task force to just look at this whole SCADA PLC kind of issue, get our arms around it, take a programmatic approach to it. Early indications is that we've allowed this thing to get out of control. We don't have the resources to support it. So we've engaged our IT department along with our operations and engineering folks to really try to pull this together. And as we approach budget time and as we hit some milestones in that effort, we'll be glad to bring it back. But it's a very critical part of our operation, and we need to get on it. We need to resource it, and we need to develop a new master plan so that we can stay ahead of it. The 9 Mile Creek floodplain analysis has basically, been completed. That took a long time. I was surprised to see that actually the effort started in 2010, and here we are now in 2017. We do have a preliminary maps have been published, and that I guess the net of that effort is approximately 16% more land is now classified within that floodplain for 9 Mile. We had a number of properties added. We had some drop out, but net it was an increase. We held public hearings to help explain that, and we had near 200 citizens of the city of Meridian attend those workshops, and so that they could understand that. We noticed everybody and informed everybody whether or not they were in, they were out, they were new, and so they've all been aware of it. And obviously, there is an impact on the flood insurance program. The final maps, I'm told, should go final in the spring of 2018. So Dave Miles is our local expert on this topic, and rightfully so. You now know about what I know. So to kind of, I guess, move into the final part of our update is to talk a little bit about our efforts to build our foundation, and we talk a lot about our employee development. We have a tendency, I have a tendency to jinx myself, not only on the flood event in January, but I think I was the one in July that said, man, can you believe it? We are fully staffed. And boy, did I pay for that, because between July and December, we saw us fall to approximately 15 vacancies. Now, some of those were the new positions that you authorized in October that came on, and we appreciate that support. But we also got caught by a number of unannounced retirements and things. So, we're seeing an industry trend in a lot of municipalities, and that is, the graying of the workforce and the difficulty to fill the jobs and succession planning. A lot of those kinds of activities are very impactful to us, and so we're trying to be proactive. We're trying to work our way back, and as of here recently, we've got ourselves back to 7 open positions, and some of those, I will tell you, are being held open purposely as we continue to optimize our organization and things. So we're not out necessarily actively trying to fill all those jobs at this point in time. So we're trying to be selective. We're trying to add value. When we get this opportunity, we want to make sure the people are good fits with our organization, good fits with the city in terms of value. So, It's, I think John McCormick was the one who always said, you gotta go slow to go fast. And when you're in the hiring process, I think that's great wisdom and making sure that we're making the right decisions that are going to affect us for hopefully a long time. Interesting of note on here, though, is that I think we're doing a pretty good job in that selection, because through the course of this last year or so, we've had 8 internal promotion candidates, and there's nothing better than being able to fill vacancies and give people those opportunities to expand on their abilities, and so we really are proud of our opportunities to promote our people internally. One of the reasons why we think that's contributing to that is that we've had a leadership development program now for over 3 years, and we passionately call it the LDP 1, 2, 3, and now this year we're in LDP 4. And that's a program that was designed and built in collaboration with Boise State University and their Center for Development, Professional Development, and we've had 34 individuals go through the LDP 1 curriculum. That's a series of 10 classroom learnings and a retreat, and it's talking about everything from management to leadership to problem-solving skills, and that we think has been a very effective and very popular program. And we kind of now have morphed on LDP 4. We've morphed that into more of a leadership type of emphasis, and we have 16 individuals who are going through that program as we speak. That's a half-day session every other week, again in collaboration with Boise State, and that emphasis is really on, all of us can be leaders. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader, and so we're really tapping into that aspect of having informal leadership within our organization, and they're off to a great start on that. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we submitted that program to the APWA Rocky Mountain chapter, and as the picture indicates, we were successful and we won the Technical and Leadership Program Award for this effort. So we're very proud of that effort, and it really supports our succession planning and internal development, and we trust that that'll lead to many more future internal promotion opportunities. One of the areas that we appreciated your support on, roughly a year ago, we brought in a safety program professional into our organization, Tim Campbell. And at that time, we were significantly behind many of the efforts that needed to be done in order to have an effective safety program for our employees. And we kind of approach it on these 4 prongs of training, work site analysis, hazard prevention, and then just management commitment. And I will tell you that we have made a lot of headway, on our training backlog that we had within the organization. We had identified that there were thousands of hours of training that needed to occur for our employees in many of the areas of their work. We now have 95% of our training is done in-house. So Tim and his experience and his certification, and allows us to do a lot of this training internally now with our folks, as opposed to subcontracting, having people come in or sending them outside. So a great effort on that front. We have nearly continuous facility inspections. So, and inspections that have engaged people who are in those work areas and work departments. And so as a result, we continue to identify and remove any potential hazards that are there. And by engaging our people in that process, they're becoming experts at identifying that as well. And that'll pay some very good dividends down the road. In terms of hazard prevention and control, we've got, prevention is the best medicine here. And we are now getting greater engagement in project planning activities and things so that we can design things in upfront. You know, we were dealing with recently facilities that don't even have exit signs. And we don't know how that happens, but I assure you that if you put the right people around a set of drawings and things, we will have, you know, you now have safety professionals and people looking for those kinds of things and making sure that the design of those efforts do have the appropriate safety systems in place. And finally, as it relates to, you know, management, employee commitment, I think that, you know, these are one of those things that are top-down, and our management team is highly dedicated to ensuring that our employees have a safe place to work, that it's a collaborative environment, and that we're focused on prevention instead of running the risk of somebody getting hurt. So a lot of great strides this year in our safety effort. And to finish up, I just want to talk about a couple of items where you might be familiar with. We are currently in the throes, when you look at volunteer education and outreach, we're planning the 9th annual Public Works Week for early June, and we're excited about that effort. So that's underway. We're involved in a lot of the third grade tours, so the number I was given, we gave 36 presentations to third graders on water and wastewater utilities, so great effort that. And I don't know where Lorelei and Adam get the time, but they have toured in the last year over 500 citizens through the wastewater treatment facility, so a lot of time and effort to offer folks that exposure into our world of utilities. Under the category of kind of stretching our capabilities, we got a great example on that front, and that is we talked about some of these plans we're developing. The collections team got together and determined that, hey, we can do our own operations and maintenance manual. They had kind of a straw model from previous consulting work and things of that nature, and by golly, they got together. They developed probably the best O&M plan we've ever had, and one that was approved and completely went through the scrutiny of DEQ and things, and was a very successful effort and saved tens of thousands of dollars if we were to outsource that. So not normal things they would do, but items that we can plan out in front of them, and they met the challenge on that front. Under the category of little things matter, the photo you see here is, so on a cold, wintry day later in the evening, a couple of our water operators were out completing service orders and things, and a dog come wandering up, and they spent a lot of time looking for the owners. There obviously was no collar, there was no identification, and he just wanted to hang around, and so they went up and down the entire neighborhood, knocking on doors, trying to find the owner. Well, long story short, one of the gentlemen took the dog home, fed him, watered him, went online, did all the searching and communication, and I'll be darned if they didn't reconnect this dog with the owner the next day. So just a little hint of what kind of people we have in the department. And it's not just for citizens, it's for dogs as well.
I thought maybe that was one of your volunteers.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's looking out for hazards while they're driving down the road there, so I'd say it's a pretty good partner. So in terms of recognizing opportunities, you know, we participate in the Idaho Power Incentive and looking for energy efficiency, and our water and wastewater operation, our electrician, you know, really dogged this thing, and we're approaching a number of opportunities that have been implemented that we've gotten rebates on, and we've got one more big one in the works right now that will probably put us somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 in rebates for those efforts and looking for energy efficiency and taking the time to apply for those rebates to come back. So bottom line, above and beyond, I think, we've got a work group that really cares and cares about their work and cares about the community. And this is a picture taken last fall, kind of a tough-looking group. This was from our picnic in September, and though I'll tell you that it's probably not the world's greatest kickball players, I don't think you could find a better team to operate your water and wastewater utilities and all the necessary support. So, and I do know there are some tremendous cornhole players, though, within that group right there. So, anyway, with that, I'd proudly stand for questions and probably direct them somewhere else. But
Thank you, Dale. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Kavner.
great presentation. Can you talk a little bit more about some of these issues that we have pending with Idaho Power? And I don't know if that makes sense for a future presentation to dive a little deeper on that, but obviously that's something that's got to be of big concern to you and your team. And I know when I heard about it, it definitely made my ears perk up.
yes, Madam Mayor, Councilman Cavanagh, yes, we know more about it. We're meeting with the mayor and Councilman Byrd here in a week and a half to give them kind of an update on the information. But basically, Idaho Power has indicated to us that due to the increasing demand of power on the system, and the fact that we have such a unique situation with how our backup power goes on to their system, that they believe that they have grounds to terminate our memorandum of understanding and have somewhat given us an ultimatum to come up with a different solution. So we've got a couple of options that we're evaluating on that front, and it is of high importance to us because we do not want this to influence the timing of our expansion projects and things. And so I think that's probably the best route, is to maybe allow us to do that. We've engaged with our finance team to evaluate from a financial analysis standpoint some of the different options we've got. And those options include modifying completely how our backup power gets to the motor control centers where it's needed. Another one is that we, up to and including, we could take control and purchase, if you will, all of the infrastructure that's on our property, where Idaho Power's responsibilities would end at the property line, which is traditionally the way it's done. Sure. Most organizations and operations are set up that way. They deliver to the property, and then the owner takes it from there. So stay tuned. I guess I would ask for a little patience, but you're right. It's a critical issue, and it's one that we believe we're on top of and working towards recommendation.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
this may be for follow-up at a later discussion at or before the budget. But the current status of the asset management data collection, does that correlate directly with finance and the depreciation budget forecast that you use? So as you acquire more and as they age, that what's being allotted towards that reserve fluctuates?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilman Morton, it does. It ultimately will become part of that process of projecting and predicting the kinds of expenses we're going to have with depreciation and asset replacement. And it's first and most important now is to get that asset into the system with a condition assessment and be able to track our efforts in maintenance and repair against those, so that we can come out of that with an analysis that gives you that predictive ability of when those assets are going to need to be replaced. we're a bit fortunate in that the bulk of our infrastructure in our city is relatively young. And so it's probably not too early, though, to start thinking about those major investments. You know, there are some locations that literally are spending billions of dollars annually on their infrastructure replacement, but that's primarily towns like Philadelphia and those that have had this infrastructure in place for 70 to 100 years, where in reality, the majority of our infrastructure is probably, you know, less than 40 years. But that is the basis in the system that'll allow us to do those projections for replacing depreciating assets.
Madam Mayor, quick follow-up on that point. We've been obviously compiling that data for all of the new installation, at least for some period of time, into this system. Have we been utilizing the rotation of the camera inspections to continue to populate that
Yeah,
asset management data set? And how close are we to having that complete? And then continuing to add to it as we go forward?
Yeah, so we've introduced the inspection of that infrastructure, and the results of those inspections does direct us to where we apply either maintenance, repair, or replacement efforts today.
Right.
I'm not sure, Councilman Borton, I understand the second part of that question.
Well, Madam Mayor, it's, if we're through that process inspecting this infrastructure, does that allow you to, does that give you enough information to assess the quality of that infrastructure to then put a depreciation value or forecast something that says this particular portion of the infrastructure is going to need replacement in 10 years, not 50 years, in light of that inspection, so let's fluctuate our depreciation reserves to account for that? Is that process underway?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Borton, I would say that process is initiated. So our first efforts is to get that initial assessment in the system,
Right.
and then do it on an appropriate periodic basis when you're looking at sewer or water infrastructure, like the piping and things of that nature, and monitor and analyze how that condition is changing, which then would allow you to flex that, you know, from a life cycle replacement standpoint, when we're going to experience, large replacement costs and things. So that process is started. I can't tell you that we've got enough information on some of that to do, a complete enough analysis to make the kind of projection that we're hoping to make with time.
Okay.
I think probably the program is still a little too young in terms of some of those things to offer as much benefit as what we'll see down the road. Okay,
Thank you.
hope that answers. So.
Okay, any other questions? I would like to thank the team. 2 weeks in a row. This is true dedication. We appreciate everything that you do on the behalf of an infrastructure that we don't want to get any calls on, because we know that generally when we do, they're not nice ones. But you do tremendous work in making sure that we don't get those phone calls, and we greatly appreciate it. Certainly, I'm hoping that part of those 36 presentations to the third graders are hoping to pique their interest in a career in public works, in water, sewer, or engineering, because certainly we need that workforce coming up, as some of your numbers showed, and in retirements and that sort of thing. So just go back and make sure everyone knows they can't retire until they find their replacement. But thank you, Dale, and thank you, team.
Thank you.
With that said, we'll turn this over to Kyle, who really costs us a lot of money in his test wells, but we know that time is money, and by drilling those test wells first, you ultimately save us time and money, right?
Madam Mayor, I couldn't agree more. They are investments that will pay dividends in the future, no doubt about it. Madam Mayor, council members, the purpose of this presentation is to give you some information about the efforts we had over the past year to update as a planning partner, to update the Ada County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. You may recall it was about a year ago that we asked for permission to put a staff member on the planning committee to work on this plan, and they have completed the update of the plan, and we are ready to present it to you, and hopefully get your questions and discussion, and then hopefully get approval to have a resolution drafted for next Tuesday. The staff members that I worked on this plan more in the 2011 update. This is the second update of the plan, so the third version of the plan since it started. And Dave Miles and Max Jensen really did more of the work this year with the committee, and I just have the privilege of being able to present it to you because I'm somebody who usually goes to council, and Max didn't jump up and down and
I think you should just hand it over to Dave and say, Dave, it's all yours.
Well, before I go to this slide, I just have 5 slides and just a few main points to make. Take about 10 minutes. First of all, the hazard mitigation plan is hazard mitigation. It's not an emergency management plan. So the idea is, we know there are natural hazards that periodically affect us. What can we do now to mitigate the risks and the impacts associated with those hazards? That's what the plan's about. And there's a main plan that's a countywide portion, and then there's the second volume, which is our planning partner annex, Meridian's annex. In your council packets, I provided the executive summary of the main plan and then our entire annex. Just as a point of interest, there were 8 different hazard types that the plan considered, and in Meridian's annex, wouldn't you know that the #1 ranking hazard type is severe weather, and among severe weather is a snowfall event. So it's in there. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of mitigation you can do for that kind of event that we had, and the mitigation you can do, there's a list of mitigating activities you can do for that in the plan, and if you're already doing it, that's not an action item that'll be on your annex, but the main thing you can do to mitigate that kind of event is have good building codes and enforce them. That include snow load in this case. So we, in fact, did mitigation for that event. We didn't have a lot of houses collapse that I'm aware of. So there's a Meridian annex, and in this update, what was done is the planning partners went through their annexes, and this table is a snapshot of our old previous action plan items, and what have we completed, what will we carry forward to the next plan, what mitigation actions may no longer be feasible. For example, the M5 at the end, consider the creation of a surface water utility including fee collection. Well, we looked into that and decided that wasn't a feasible thing to do. Ada County is in charge of the storm drain system, and they are the MS4 permittee with the EPA, and they should take care of that. So that's no longer feasible and is no longer in the new plan. On the other hand, we had an action item M4 that was completed, apply for participation in the community rating system in our floodplain administration. And we did apply, and we are now members of the community rating system, which will feed into this plan, and actually being participants in this plan will give us credit in the community rating system. So there's that advantage. And the main advantage of being part of the plan, in the initial comments in the executive summary, says, well, once you have a plan like this, then you can be eligible for pre-disaster grant funding or hazard mitigation funding. But I think the bigger advantage of being part of a planning effort is that you've done the planning. I like the term, a plan is nothing, but planning is everything. And I think it's true. This is a good example here where what you see in here is a success story where we identified in our plan that one of the opportunities that we had to improve our risk and impact to the 100-year flood was, gee whiz, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have the 100-year flood overtopping the interstate at the Eagle interchange? And we communicated that to the transportation department. Wouldn't it be nice? And this wasn't anything that was enabled by grant funding. This was just opportunity and preparation meeting, and I'm not sure what the impetus for ITD's project was, but we communicated with them and said, hey, you need to do this if you have a chance. And that was the pre-project condition, and that's the post-project condition. And so,
Nice.
yeah, so even with the absence of any kind of grant funding from a federal level, sometimes it's just a matter of the right people knowing that there's an issue that needs to be addressed. And I think that was the case here. So, and we continue to communicate with different planning partners, and we'll look for more opportunities like this. I have with me Crash from the Ada County Emergency Management Office, and he will help me answer any detailed questions that you have that I can't answer. But with that, that's about all I had for a presentation. And we are, like I said, looking for any comments you have, questions, discussion, and then we would appreciate your direction to move towards a resolution for next week.
I guess, Kyle, something that came up in the previous presentation on the 9 Mile floodplain, or 9 Mile Creek floodplain, and how it's increased in the number of properties that it impacts. How did that increase, and are we looking at mitigation to some of those concerns?
Madam Mayor, council members, I could answer this question, but I think there's another guy that could answer it better, standing over there. And the simple answer is...
See, we knew we would get you up
Yep.
here.
The simple answer is
John Mayer.
absolutely, we are looking at that, but I'm going to let Dave answer it in a little more detail.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you. Dave Miles.
That was a tag team.
It was, we had a little bit of division of duties, but nonetheless, I am aware of the situation. And essentially, the new mapping that FEMA conducted on 9 Mile Creek is a culmination of new hydrology and new hydraulics. So they have better, newer technology, which shows new results in the floodplain mapping of the 100-year event. And because of that, that's the result where you see additional properties being added to the floodplain. In answer to your second question, we are looking at this type of program as an option as well as other options, whether it be the Army Corps of Engineers, who have a grant funding program, as well as a budgetary straight budget funding program as partnership. And then looking at other opportunities as well with other agencies like MDC and efforts that they're making in partnership with their efforts, as well as the highway district. So we are looking at various options to mitigate those types of issues that have come up from the new mapping.
I'd say that was a real political answer. So we haven't quite figured out what we can do to help reduce the impact on the property owners.
Madam Mayor and council members, we know what we can do, and that the answer to that is increase the size of the culverts that are in 9 Mile Creek. Typically, most of the culverts along all of our creeks are undersized due to their installation being years ago and not understanding the full magnitude of the floodplain. So we know we can increase the size of the culverts. The question becomes how and what's the most effective and cost-effective way to do that. Is that straight funds through the city of Meridian? Is that funds through partnerships with the city and the likes of the highway district and MDC? Or is that utilizing federal grant dollars through either the Army Corps of Engineers or FEMA and asking them for their partnerships? There are costs and benefits to both of those. Obviously, working with the federal government, time is more of the issue for what appears to be about the same cost. So we're evaluating those options, but ultimately we have to upsize the culverts in some manner. Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
More so, yes. Council, any questions? Nothing for Crash? We do appreciate that you joined us.
Madam Mayor, Council, thank you. And so I'll since there are no further questions, I'm assuming that's acquiescence to go forward and put it on the agenda for next Tuesday for a resolution.
I don't see any opposition to that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Val.
Okay, item 7D, last week, council, you heard the report on the audit. We did need formal acceptance of that report, so this is more of a technicality than anything else.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Borton,
I would move that we formally accept and approve the fiscal year 2016 audit report presented by Ide Bailey.
Second.
okay, I have a motion and a second to approve item 7D. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Did you get that, Dean?
You're still with us, Dean?
Under future meeting topics, council, I do have a couple of reminders of upcoming events. The Police Department Awards Ceremony is the 23rd at the West Ada District offices. FFA has their Community Appreciation Breakfast on Friday, the 24th at 6 a.m. You don't have to be there at
can be a
6
little-
a.m. But that is at the Meridian Career Technical Center, and Light My Fire at the Riverside Hotel. That is also on the 24th. That's at 5:30 p.m. And you can talk to Chief Jones, or Pam Orr has all the details. Pam has been a constant in that. If you haven't attended, you should. And ask if there are any topics under this item.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Moment
Mr.
of
Cavanagh.
privilege, if I may. I just wanted to congratulate you and your staff and volunteers on a great State of the City address, and specifically to the great announcement about the new park coming to Meridian. So a great event and a great recognition for Councilman Byrd. So job well done.
Thank you so much, and it will be coming to you to vote on that.
It's gonna be a tough one.
So I think that sounds like there's at least one vote. Okay, council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
move we go into executive session as per Idaho State Code 74-206, 1A and D.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.